Welcome to RPG Archive. It's the show where we archive RPGs. There's got to be a better intro to that, but I'm kind of new at this. Well, it's the show that we talk about RPGs in long form and discuss their history, their impact, and what we thought of them in general. And today my guest is Teddy from Majora T.
Yes, hi Spencer. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We're continuing our quest of dragons.
Indeed. And we've talked about it before in the first game archive, and I'm excited to talk about the second one today. It's definitely a notorious title in some respects.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, we're talking about Dragon Quest II today. Before we start talking about that, what do you think of Dragon Quest I? The archive.
Well, we have the archive. I thought you were going to say the game. Well, it's funny you should ask. No, I really liked it. I thought we covered an array of topics. That's a game with a lot of historical value, and so I felt that we did it justice. How did you feel about it?
I was happy about it. There's some amendments we're gonna have to make real quick, but in general, I like the flow of it. I like how it went. We'll continue on that trajectory, I'm assuming. And one thing we're going to rectify real quick while we get started here is, before we do any of that, though, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all those things if you haven't already. And hang out with us on the Button Mappers Discord. I'd rather just use that one because it's so lively. Hang out with the Button Mappers Discord, and we're on Apple Podcasts. That's what it's called. I keep thinking iTunes. I don't know. I guess that's old school. And make sure you check out Majora T's channel, which is Majora T.
Right, in the tone of Majora T.
There it is. He talks about consoles.
I do.
And make sure you check us out on the Button Mappers, where we do videos every Monday.
Basically, we're sending you everywhere but here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But stick around. We got some good talking points here.
Absolutely. All right, so before we talk about Dragon Quest II, one thing I did not mention Dragon Quest I that I wish that I did was talking about the sales, because I'm a numbers guy. I like looking at the business side of things. And Dragon Quest, I like to focus just on the NES version because that's like the big hitter. And then, of course, there's other versions that get released, but I like to look at the historical value of the sales numbers for Dragon Quest on the NES. And that one did 1.5 million sales, which for the time is pretty good.
And that was pre-Reggie, right?
That was pre-Reggie.
Right.
It actually did 3 million sales if you include the US, but I'm pretty sure those numbers are skewed because of the giveaway.
Yeah, I think so. I think pre-giveaway, they were really low in the US. And then supposedly, I was reading a little bit into this today. I don't know the exact influence, but when Dragon Quest II was released, it boosted sales of the first game.
That would make sense. I want to talk, speaking of the Dragon Quest sales, about Shonen Jump. They had a huge influence on the sales of the first Dragon Quest, and I'm sure subsequent ones as well, but supposedly it wasn't as big of a deal even in Japan until Shonen Jump started marketing it. Do you read Shonen Jump, or what's your experience with that?
I'm looking at my shelf for like manga. I have like 5 manga issues. It's possible. I'm not like a manga or anime guy. So I've watched Shonen Jump animes. Like I've watched the Narutos and the Dragon Balls. I don't know if Yu Yu Hakusho is shonen. But I do have exposure to the name.
Well, obviously it became a big deal because they had Akira Toriyama's artwork, and that's kind of the way that that's their what do you call it, the Trojan horse, to get it into people's hearts and minds. So pretty genius, and I think it worked, specifically in Japan. Obviously in America, it didn't really work at all. Let's talk about the reception of it. Oh, crap. Hold on. Dragon Quest 1. All right. And the reception of it was it got a 30 out of 7.8 out of 10 from IGN, and ironically a 3 out of 5 from Nintendo Power. They're the ones that like tried to help market it like crazy.
Yeah, there's some cruel irony there.
And I guess Famitsu wasn't a thing yet, but All Game gave it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Okay, so let's not forget too that Dragon Warrior in the U.S. released 3 or 4 years later than it did in Japan.
Yeah.
So by that point, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we had at least Final Fantasy 1.
Let's take a look at Final Fantasy's release date. I think you're right. It released in it did. It released September 18th, 1987. Let me see if that was in America though.
Right.
Release date. It doesn't say it's specific to one.
If you go on the Wikipedia page, it usually distinguishes between JP and US.
It didn't up there, but it does here in North America in 1990.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it hadn't even come out yet. Almost.
That's weird. Then why are US gamers so picky at the time?
Maybe there's a marketing thing. I don't know.
That's weird. 86. When did the Nintendo come out?
Nintendo came out
because Mario Bros was like the same year as 86, if I'm not mistaken. Then Japan and America.
It came out in 1985.
Right. So like there's kind of an important thing here about this is that the Nintendo came out 1 year before Dragon Quest came out, and also 1 year before Super Mario Bros. Came out. Or actually, same time. I guess it was a pack-in with Duck Hunt or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the difference of Dragon Quest in 1986 versus 5 years into the console lifespan in 1989, I could see why it's kind of not spectacular by the time that people are playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could sort of see, and they made a couple of those concessions with the save thing, which I can't even imagine playing this game with passwords. Like,
Jesus,
that would, because I can't, like, it couldn't save your like everything, so that would be weird. So obviously they made those benefiting concessions, but it's like, yeah, it's an old game by the time America gets it. They've had the flurry,
regardless if Final Fantasy is out or not.
Yeah, that could be a huge factor in it. But it looks like it wasn't reviewed super favorably over here. But in Japan, obviously, it picked up a lot of steam, and eventually became their big seller over there. So just interesting to see the contrast between the two. All right.
Have you ever seen like the cultural appreciation of Dragon Quest in Japan, like in videos or media?
I know that the bunny girl thing is a big deal. What's the other stuff you got?
I just know I've seen videos on YouTube of like Dragon Quest being marketed all over the place on the subway, like in the advertisements on the sub, or like they'll play like the Dragon Quest theme on the subways like certain times a year.
Yeah.
So it's really revered over there.
It would be so cool like to go there and just experience that very different culture, because like here, if you're gonna see a game being marketed, it's probably Madden or Call of Duty or something. So it's interesting that over there it's like I remember Persona 5 was so heavily marketed. They even took like a subway. So like there was a place on the little subway area that there's like sold food. They like changed it to a Persona 5 thing and like only sold Persona 5 food there. Like, it's so interesting.
That's cool.
So I don't know much about the Dragon Quest stuff, but I know it's huge. So that would be so cool to just go down or walk down the street and see signs for Dragon Quest.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
Agreed.
Maybe we'll get to do that sometime. Uh, all right. Let's skip to Dragon Quest II. I wanted to talk about the making of. I posted a little discussion point. It was an interview with Yuji Horii.
On Shmuplations, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, I read that one last night. It was pretty interesting.
so there's a multi-character party in this one. Uh, this is obviously probably the biggest change from Dragon Quest One. What did you think of having a multi-character party? Like, was this a completely different game?
Okay, so in talking about the fact that you can have multiple characters in your party, we also need to mention that you can have you're fighting multiple monsters on the screen.
Yes.
Um, so like you could be fighting anywhere up to I believe it's 4 or 5 monsters at any given time.
Yeah.
The entire well, okay, so in the first game, you have kind of like a jack of all trades kind of hero who has healing spells. He's an attacker, and he goes up by level, and he has different stats based on your name. Okay, cool. Um, in this one, you have only 3 characters, so your options are very limited. And one thing I was saying when I was thinking about this last night, and I was doing like my Monster Memories video, is, and we had mentioned this before, the main characters feel really subdued by comparison to the hero in Dragon Quest One. What do you feel about that?
You mean they feel subdued in that like they don't have a lot of stuff going on?
Right. So like the main hero, the Prince of Middenhall in
Hmm.
Dragon Quest Two,
Yeah.
doesn't have any magic spells. He doesn't get heal power. He has no mana.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The
Yeah.
Prince of Kanik is a magic user, and his attack is pretty weak, even with the best upgrades in the game. But he's got some good magic. And then kind of the same deal for Maria.
Yeah, yeah. So you're clearly the leader. Except you're not usually in modern games or modern RPGs, if you're considered like a leader character, you have buffs. Um, you do not have anything, which is odd. Yeah, it's definitely odd. I think, and again, this comes at a time like so long ago that there weren't rules. Like there wasn't like they were writing the rules. Now, what we're playing is them writing the rules. So
Yeah.
it's like okay, you have one character that does nothing except attack, one character that heals kind of and does magic, some magic, and one character that does mostly magic and some heals. Um, it's not the best combo in my opinion, but again, they didn't have the rule book that we have now, so it's interesting to see them trying to come up with what's that balance of character direction that you want.
Well, one thing to recognize as well is, we had mentioned in the last archive that Dragon Quest One was based off of computer-based RPGs like Wizardry, whatever that is, with like the vampire or whatever. And so, like this one, they mentioned that too, and they tried to take the party system from Wizardry, where you could have up to 6 people in a party at a time, but the Famicom could only produce so much, and they maxed out at 3.
Yeah.
And so there is that limitation. But even within that limitation, as they're writing the rules, I agree, you do need to be forgiving in a sense. But for most modern gamers, I think this is it's a hard sell.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And it kind of makes sense if you look at it from like the wizardry perspective, because it's
Mhm.
like in traditional D&D, barbarians or not necessarily barbarians, but like fighters, kind of barbarians in a way, don't have any magic. Like they are literally attackers. And
Right.
so that kind of makes sense, but it doesn't, like kind of like you're saying, it doesn't really translate to a fun playable video game that people would like now, especially considering where RPGs have come. It's very odd.
Here's the thing. With I've played a couple Dragon Quests in my life, and I started like the first one I finished was 4, and I just remember 4 making me work, for that ending. And in some respects, it is laborious. And some people would call it tedious having to do all of that grinding. And there are definitely points in Dragon Quest 2 with that tedium. But I absolutely love how it just is kind of vicious and how it makes you really earn your way to take on the end boss in a turn-based format. Like I remember playing like Kingdom Hearts, and it's like a hack and slash, and it's just annoying because like you spend 30 minutes like doing stupid dodges and like smashing your PS2 controller to like try and take on like fucking Mickey Mouse or whatever. But like, you know, in Shadow Mickey Mouse, I don't know. But in
Shadow
Dragon
Mickey.
Quest, in Dragon Quest, it's like you're fighting Satan, you know,
Yeah.
and the difficulty communicates, and even though your hero is not heroic in the sense of the same one way as like the first game or even other games, I kind of like just how basic they are and how human they are.
That is incredibly insightful. I did not think of it. That's like such a good word for it, is a human element. Like in a way he's like us, right? Because he doesn't like we don't have a heal spell or anything. Wow, I didn't even think of it in that way. He is very human, isn't he? And he's like the main
Yeah.
character. Huh. Wow. That's like a whole new way to view this game. And because like they're the other characters are kind of like they're not that like characterized or anything, and they're just like almost support characters.
Right.
Like you're just in this world, and they're there to help you. It's like, and I love that you also brought up you're fighting like the devil, because Dragon Quest has always had that kind of religious undertone to it. I don't think anyone ever talks about it, but it's definitely there.
That's a huge theme in this one. Just looking at the monsters, half of the monsters had this garb on with this kind of like sickly, happy face bat on them. I don't know if you remember like the sorcerers or the enchanters or
Mm-hmm.
the mace masters or even the main the priest boss Hargon. You know, before he summons Malroth, he's got like the garb with the bat, and then there's commonality in the monsters where they all have this kind of like this demon pose.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the mage, the mage master, the mage
Mace Master. Yeah,
mace
and
masters.
also
They,
yeah.
I know they're supposed to look like they're like they have like a demonic robe on or something, but to me they always looked like sports jerseys.
um
But yeah,
okay. I don't
it's
see it.
definitely just like limitations. But I think they, like in the most modern ones, they just copy it, even though they were clearly limitations before. So now they look even more like they're just sports jerseys.
Hmm.
Like in the most in like 11 and stuff. It always makes me laugh
I
seeing
can
them.
see them as like the guys. What do they call them? Matadors.
Oh, really?
The
You see
guys
them with that?
we get the balls. You know.
Suppose. You said something also that interested me. Well, it was going to be the next segue. Is multiple monsters on screen too, and that led to the balancing issues. Yuji Horii would talk about um, they had to delay the game because they realized that balancing it was too difficult. He wrote some code uh, where it picks enemies and helps you fight like enemies that are supposed to be your level or supposed to be like for where you're at in the game. But he didn't take into account that it also allows for multiple enemies, and when you put multiple enemies into that, it like multiplies the difficulty. And so early on in the game, especially when you're by yourself, apparently, you could go up to against 5 different monsters at once and just get absolutely destroyed.
Mm.
That's something I would never even have thought of until you start test playing it. Um,
Yeah. Supposedly every test player was coming back with a different complaint.
that's interesting. So here's some of the complaints that the testers were saying. Quote, I can't make any money. Lower the prices, please. End quote. Quote, battles take too long. Can't you make them quicker? End quote. Quote, can we adjust the speed at which you level up? The transition from level 4 to level 5 is especially rough. End quote. Quote, no, I think the leveling is fine as it is now, but I'm still dying too much. Which those seem to be like pretty regular complaints.
Mm.
I would think that's pretty standard fare, and you just kind of tweak things a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but could you imagine this game being harder?
Well, supposedly that NES version is just brutal. But my thing was like when I read this article, I got the sense that they were learning coding as they were going. Um, is this the same team as did the first game? Like, how different is it?
Um, it says that they had like a group of learning people, like of schoolers or something. and they were trying to decode. So in a way, yes, they were learning to code as they were going along. Um, and then Nakamura would redo a bunch of their pieces of it because he was like the master coder. And
Wow.
so like they
They
finished
got a bunch
most
of
of
interns to make Dragon Quest 2.
it. Yeah, yeah, definitely odd. An odd way to make like the sequel to a big game that's coming out. Um, yeah,
Yeah, this game was man, I played the Super Nintendo version. You played the phone port, is that right?
yeah.
Okay, and have you played this before?
hmm I played it on the
What?
Game Boy Color before.
Okay. Yeah, supposedly the Game Boy Color one was like reduced in terms of like the difficulty to make it more accessible, but that first version, and we can get to this later when we talk about the final boss, but like it just had a lot of like difficult parts. How did you feel about like just how well everything was balanced throughout your gameplay?
Mine was all right. I mean, Dragon Quest Two is one of the harder Dragon Quests. I feel like, just because of some of the limitations of the characters, like not having any spells on the main character, the other guys being relatively weak. So there were humps of difficulty, but I kind of like that with Dragon Quest in that you have to farm and learn your characters better and learn which spells you like, and it's not like it's the most complex thing, but I like that about Dragon Quest is you got to spend a little time with it. So I never felt like it was overpowering. The encounter rate wasn't absurdly high on the Android version. How about you?
There were, I think, most of the game played okay. Um, but there were definitely parts where there was compounded difficulty in terms of like the monsters you were fighting, in terms of encounter rate. That's a big issue for me. Um, where they were doing so many things and you only had so much restoration ability. You
Mm.
could only heal your character so many times because you're already using magic on Kane and Maria. I don't know what they were called in your version. But the prince and the princess to attack monsters because their main attack power just sucks. And in combination with things like caves where they had loop endings and you had to like follow the right path and kind of figure it out. If I had to play this game without a guide, I'd be miserable.
Oh yeah. Oh, we'll get to that. But this would be I it feels like a cop out to tell people some of this sometimes, but the older RPGs sometimes just play with a guide. You're
Yeah.
going to save yourself like 10 hours, maybe more.
Besides like the sheer like you know uh, overwhelming sensation of being in the overworld and encountering monsters every 5 to 10 steps, and also while you're sailing, goddamn those sea slugs. This game has some of the most obtuse progression systems, or like kind of like item based plot progression points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
Yeah, where
need
it's like
to
yeah,
get 5 crests in order to summon the deity, but like the crests are not really outlined in the game.
nor do they show
So
up in your inventory.
right, so just little icons that you wouldn't even think to like look at on the main menu. Um,
Oh, are they on the main menu?
yeah, they were. So I could see I only had 3, but at least it was there.
Oh, I didn't even know
Um,
that. That's interesting.
yeah, I don't know if that's in the earlier versions, but yeah, you will be saving yourself a lot of trouble to use a guide playing Dragon Quest 2.
Yeah. Last little bit of the making of. We didn't really talk about it in the last video, but the Dragon Quest cover looks so much different in America. I wonder if that has anything to do with the failure of it. Do you remember when Dragon Ball took off in America?
Oh, it was hot. People love Dragon Ball.
But do you remember when?
So the original came out in the 80s. This is pre me. But I know that Dragon Ball Z was really popular in the 90s.
Hmm.
This looks like your typical NES box that could be confused with some licensed garbage like, I don't know, Roston. You know what Roston is?
No, no.
Looks identical. It's like Conan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Just like your fantasy flair.
The Golden Axe, I
Yeah.
guess. It has like this kind of like, barbarian looking thing. So I don't know like what the market is for barbarian games in America in the 80s. But yeah, that could be or actually it's 90 because this game came out in 1990 in America.
Yeah, so it's like why not? You have Akira Toriyama artwork. They didn't think to just put Akira Toriyama's artwork in America? Like Dragon Ball did so well. Could you imagine if this game came out and it had like that Dragon Ball artwork? People would have gone crazy for it.
I'm sure. Yeah. Anime was hot during the 80s too. People liked it.
That seems like such a missed opportunity. I wonder why they decided to. Maybe they thought because people were into like, well, the American games they thought they were trying to emulate was like Ultima and stuff, and those didn't have Akira Toriyama. So maybe they thought to just try to mimic a D&D style artwork.
From a sales perspective, I think like the Akira Toriyama thing would work better. But as a collector, I kind of am interested in like owning the original Dragon Warriors boxed and complete. I don't know. They look cool. It's not like just owning it for the sake of owning it, but it is there is something kind of artistic about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the way that Cyclops is portrayed or the prince or the princess, those are very interesting. Like I'm not I'm not
Yeah, like
necessarily against it.
yeah, I don't think they're bad. It's just that I think they could have done better if they went with the Akira Toriyama artwork.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, it's 1987 and Dragon Quest II is released.
In
Sales
Japan.
numbers, we've got 2.55 million. And if it's 1987, it's 2.4 million. That was Japan. So definitely an increase. If you just look at the pure Japan sales numbers, it went from 1.5 million for one to 2.4 million for two. The U.S. Did 150,000.
But wait, see, that's in what year?
That would have been later in the
1990.
2000, or sorry, yeah, 2000. My God, 1991 or two, whenever it came out over here. Yeah. So
See, I don't know if I trust those numbers because like I trust the 2.5 million in Japan, but like where are you looking on?
VG sales. It's the best I got.
I don't know.
I trust them for these older ones. For newer ones, it's harder because of the digital download stuff. But I trust them enough. Someone can correct that, but that sounds right. 2.4 million.
Okay, I mean, like I get it. I'm not surprised, especially we were just looking at that box art, and I don't know when was the giveaway.
The Nintendo Power giveaway.
Yeah.
Let me take a look at that. Oh wow! I typed Nintendo Power Give and then it goes Dragon Warrior Nintendo Power Giveaway. That's
Yeah,
that's like the big thing. That's so
that's the big
funny.
thing.
It's the only thing they ever gave away. Uh, where is it? I'm trying to find the exact date. I'm pretty sure it's. I'm pulling up a Twitter thing. Come on, just give me the picture.
There's
Looks like
so
it's
many
not. Looks
Dragon
like
Quest
it's.
games in Japan.
Looks like it's 1990.
Okay, so it's the same year this thing is released. So I think by that point they're realizing like what a flop it was, and they're just sitting on like a mass of Dragon Warrior carts, and so they're giving them away, and
Yeah.
it probably got a few people to buy Dragon Quest 2, but I don't know.
Let's just say that it's not good.
Yeah. Well, I think they would have seen, because it's still a year difference, 89, 90. They would have seen how much of a flop the first one was. And so, like, I don't know that they really put that much effort into setting it over here. I don't know if you know, like, the prices very well, but if you try and get a copy of Dragon Warrior on the NES, much cheaper than getting 2 or 3.
Really? Oh,
Let
because
me
of
see
that
if I can pull it up
influx.
for you.
Because of that influx of.
Yeah, it could be
Ah,
because of like the production amount.
gotcha. That would make a lot of sense. That would make a ton of sense. While you're pulling that up, let's talk about the reception of Dragon Quest II in America. Uh, I want to look for specifically the Famicom version. Famitsu has became a thing so much over the year. I guess from 1986 to 1987, it became a thing. Famicom gave it 38 out of 40, which or Famitsu did, which is pretty crazy. GamePro, so this would be later, gave it an 18 out of 25. GameSpot gave it 9.6 out of 10. IGN 8 out of 10. Nintendo Power 8 out of 10. So review wise, this did a lot better.
Oh yeah.
It's weird
Oh
that
yeah.
isn't it funny that people look at it in like as the black sheep, but if we're looking at it in terms of the times, it was considered a much better game, which in a way it is a much better game than Dragon Quest
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, I don't understand the black sheep persona for this game that people on the internet seem to have attributed to it. I think it's just that by default because there's just like if you even if you look at the sales numbers from before, there was such a higher exposure to the first game. And the second game is not the one that's like so stand out for people. It really just fixed a lot of the issues that the first game had. And so you look at the Famitsu scores, it was 30 for Dragon Warrior, 35. It's 38 for, Dragon Warrior 2.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Let's see what some people had to say about it. The game is generally known for fixing problems found in the first game, including improvements such as allowing parties of 3 characters, having a larger world, better graphics, and the ability to carry more items. Considered a classic for the RPG genre, the game is regarded as praiseworthy. Japanese reviews highlighted the Famicom's version's difficulty. No kidding. Stemming from issues such as the many traps in the Cave of Roan and the final boss's ability to cast a heal all spell. And this has led some critics calling the game the most difficult Dragon Quest. Here's an interesting aside. Koichi Nakamura said, in result, Dragon Quest II received favorable from everybody, but as me, and must be a translation because it's really broken, but as me, creator's side, I feel that I did about only half what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And I think we're going to see that in Dragon Quest 3. Dragon Quest 3 is like the whole enchilada.
Oh, yeah. This is a interesting kind of look at the game because like I don't know if I want to introduce the segment now or just wait later. But Dragon Quest 3 is almost like them rewriting the history. Because it's the chance to look back and do the prequel. And they applied like the narrative elements, yet they fixed a lot of these like these kinks that they were still working through.
Yeah. Yeah. They do that's an interesting way to put that also. It's almost like a Hideo Kojima kind of thing, which you're not big on Metal Gear Solid, but like
I just have to play it.
like, but their thing is like his deal is like a very meta view of things, and like that would be a very him kind of thing to make a game that's literally fixing the problems of the first game, and like, but it's like in the game of them doing it. That's an interesting take on it. I can't wait to review that game with you and we can talk about that.
Well, here's the thing. How many times did we read when we were reading for Dragon Quest 1 about disappointment in the game? I don't remember any.
No, it's
It was like
considered a
we
classic.
wanted to make a game that had like a rich story where players could really associate with the princess, and I really feel like we delivered. Like they were excited about Dragon Quest 1. It was like never done before. But then when they were doing Dragon Quest 2, they had like all that nasty Nintendo Power feedback or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Yeah, this game sucked. It was tedious. I hated playing as one character. And so like, like and I understand they were writing the formula. Like those were your words from before. Um, but it's almost like a fix it approach. And it works to some extent and it doesn't in others.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a very, very interesting discussion. Um, Dragon Quest II is clearly the middle ground of that. Um, Maybe Dragon Quest II is that. Maybe it's them just like addressing Dragon Quest One.
It's the Wii U of the of the
Yeah,
Dragon Quest series.
yeah. It's so just like, okay, Dragon Quest One was cool. It put us on the map. Let's fix these things, and then they fix some of them, and we're left with Dragon Quest Two. All right, you ready to talk about the game?
Sure.
Might as well at some point. All right. The plot. It's pretty brief. Dragon Quest II, I'm getting this off of the wiki. Dragon Quest II is set 100 years after Dragon Quest. A century of peace is suddenly ended when the evil wizard Hargon destroys the country of Moonbrook. One lone guard, an injured survivor of the attack, makes his way towards the kingdom of Laurasia. There, with his dying breath, he informs the king of the dire circumstances. The king then commands his son, the Prince of Laurasia, and a descendant of Erdrick, also known as Lodo in some versions, to defeat Hargon. The prince is not alone on his quest. He has two cousins, the Prince of Cannock and the Princess of Moonbrook. However, he must find them first. I love that. That's like part of the gameplay. The Prince of Cannock already left on a similar journey, and the Princess of Moonbrook was in the castle of Moonbrook when it was attacked. It is up to the Prince of Laurasia to find them, join together, and defeat Hargon.
Okay. Did you have a cutscene in the beginning of this game when you played it?
I did.
Did you have like cool animations of like the actual Hargon and all the demons destroying the Moonbrook Castle?
You know what? I don't remember. I don't think so.
Mine did. I had the Super Nintendo version. This is something apparently they worked into the North American release for 1990. This was one of their aspirations they didn't get in the Famicom version. So in the Famicom version, it actually just starts with the messenger coming to Middenhall, which is the other name for Laurasia,
Yeah.
and telling the king, "Hey, the Hargon attacked. Send your son." And I was taken aback because in Dragon Quest One, there's nothing like that. There's not like cutscenes per se. It's just straight gameplay.
Yeah.
And it's not something that like happens throughout the course of the game, but I was like, this is a different game that I'm playing.
Yeah. I think I remember that when I played the Game Boy Color version, because those are like the good versions. Just for anybody listening.
Well, the Super Nintendo one is really good too. Aren't they? But you have to get a translated version.
Aren't they pretty similar?
Well, the Game Boy Color one has sprites versus the Super Nintendo it's kind of like like the Super Mario All Stars kind of graphic style.
Yeah.
Like what that does to the Super Mario Bros. Games on NES. It's kind of the same deal what the SNES port does.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah. I think there's also a Wii collection in Japan, but I'm not really, I don't know about importing Wii games.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I didn't even think about that. That's cool. So you got to get a translated version?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not too hard. I'm
sure. However you'll find it.
I'm sure someone who wanted to find it could find that.
Yeah.
Okay, we have our characters. The Prince of Laurasia, or Middenhall. In the U.S. version, it's Middenhall. The Prince of Laurasia is the classic warrior of the three heroes. He can use any armor and weapon in the game. He has no magical ability. This is the only game in the series which this is true for the main hero. But his physical attack and defense are the greatest of the three. This is the character the player starts out with, and his name is directly selected by the player.
You could put 8 characters in as opposed to 4. That's nice.
Woo! Like a true beast.
And I don't feel bad about naming him the wrong name.
What do you think about his look? He's got like a blue. Well, it depends on which version you're looking at, but in general, he's got like a blue helmet on and almost like a Mega Man look. This is the weirdest main hero of all, I think.
Yeah, because he looks like a priest or something in some sense. I don't know. There's a word for it. Like in the Warcraft series, you pick this kind of
Like a
character,
cleric,
a cleric or
paladin, or something.
yeah, paladin. That's what I was going for. He looks like a paladin, which I mean, you were mentioning the religious theme earlier, so I mean, I think that kind of makes sense. But he doesn't have any magic,
Yeah, it's
so
kind of.
the conundrum there.
Yeah, yeah. Why not make him the Prince of Cannock?
Mm.
Like that guy was clearly supposed to be like a cleric, priest character.
Yeah, this little priest's son is supposed to be like this the descendant of Erdrick, the legendary hero who slayed the Dragon Lord. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like a little kind of like wuss.
Well, and usually your main character has the crazy hair. Traditionally,
Mm.
this guy's got, you can't see his hair. It's covered up in like a blue helmet.
Could you see the hair in Dragon Quest One? I thought he had the helmet.
He did, but you could, I swear you could see some of the hair. Let me see that. Oh, I think he did have the dragon helmet.
In the Japanese depiction of this one, he's like got like a little airplane pilot head garb on.
You're right. No, you're totally right. In the first one, but see, that guy still looks like a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got a freaking helmet with dragon horns pointing out in the sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't see his hair. You're right, but his head is still ornamented in like a way that's kind of cool. I guess from 3 on you could usually see their hair.
Mm.
Huh. But yeah, this guy I don't really like the look of the main hero in this one. He looks like a goofball.
I don't know. You really don't see him that much. Like you don't see your party attack in the Dragon Quest games. You just see their attacks because they're like behind the screen. It's like you play as them, which is interesting. I don't think we really talked about that. Like playing as the party, how everything happens behind the screen.
Yeah. People hate that. Not nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Multimaster about that because it was like I was streaming Dragon Quest 11 and there's the parts where you go in the classic mode and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, he talking like Multimaster does. But he's like, dude, I hate this. Like, why can't you see yourself attack?
How
It's
do you
like,
feel about it?
uh, well, I mean, we've played Dragon Quest so long, like I don't even think about it, but it's like, yeah, I do get because Final Fantasy has them where it's like side by side. You're on the right, the enemies are on the left.
See, I hate that. I think that looks stupid. Horizontal turn-based gameplay? What? No way. It's like Pokemon, but you just put the Pokemon behind the screen. You know what? Half the time the Pokemon looks stupid anyway.
Especially in red when they're like these weird like amalgamations of pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough question. What is the better view? It's not even the battle system because the battle system is completely different anyway. But what's the better view? That's hard to say. I'm so used to Dragon Quest that I like the Dragon Quest one.
Me too.
But I think America voted and they like the Final Fantasy one.
Well, they didn't. They had their vote picked for them.
In a way, that's an interesting thing because you're right. Like they had their vote picked for them because I bet you we don't know this yet, and maybe someday we'll cover Final Fantasy. Hopefully, that'd be great. But Final Fantasy maybe was marketed better or something, and that became the standard for what an RPG in America would be. And so, if Dragon Quest was marketed better, everyone would say this is the way to do it.
I don't know. Was Final Fantasy marketed better before 7? Because they had the awful numbering system.
Yeah. I mean, RPGs just never really took off until late Super Nintendo and then definitely Final Fantasy 7.
Mm.
So it's hard to say, but I do hear people just bitching about Dragon Quest view all the time. and very few people continue to use it. Like Earthbound used it. Mm. It was definitely like an old school, like you would see that in I can't remember what you call like dungeon crawlers where it's like a first person
Yeah.
perspective and you walk through. That's
Yeah,
kind of that.
a DRPG, but I do see that in like Shin Megami Tensei as well.
Oh, good call. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's there.
A lot of my favorite games employ that system. So
Yeah, I never even considered that. I'm brainwashed by Dragon Quest that I don't even think of like the actual battle view very often.
hmm well, I guess the reason I brought it up was like at no point in this game or in the first game do you actually get to see more than the sprite character.
Right. That's it.
So I don't overthink like what he looks like in this game. It's not that important to me, except for like what's on the cover.
Hmm.
And I guess I'll take the North American one. I don't know. Uh,
Well, it's like when you see them all side by side, like in future artwork or something, where they're like, "Here's all the heroes of Dragon Quest," and you're kind of looking at them one by one. You're like, "Whoa, what's that?"
I made a joke about this. Take a look at the Japanese artwork for the Famicom version again for Dragon Quest 2, and tell me if you see anything funny.
Let's take a look here
Okay. We know when you got it up.
for the Famicom version. Oh, where he's like poking him in the butt.
Yeah, exactly.
I was watching that last night. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, something about that looks odd, and it does look like Hargon's just laughing at him getting his butt poked in.
He's like on a skewer or something. Here's your hero.
Yeah, it's goofy. Next up, we have the Prince of Cannock, who's supposed to be. It says, okay, the Prince of Cannock is a blend of the classic warrior and priest archetypes. He cannot use as wide variety of weapons and armor as the prince, but compensates with the ability to use magic. However, it should be noted that his magic is not as powerful as that wielded by the Princess of Moonbrook, though he's better at healing magic. The character is hard to track down.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're supposed to go in the cave with the spring and talk to the old man. The old man says he went to another town. You go to that town. The town is wrong because of a programming error. And so you're actually supposed to go to Leftwind, and then you go back to the same damn spring. What is up with this guy? Why is he such a pain? He's like really avoiding you.
Yeah, he's annoying to get. Also, he is like exactly like the Dragon Quest hero, isn't he? Now that I think about it.
The old one?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, the original. Like he is that guy.
because of his skills and he's kind of being a well-rounded character.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Your character's some brute.
Yeah.
Didn't get any of the hero genes, just got like strength.
Yeah.
And he even looks more like a hero. He's got like the crazy hair. Although I don't know what this game's obsession with goggles is, but all the main the boys have goggles.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, they did introduce sailing. So if you get knocked into the water, at least you have some
Goggles.
goggles, yeah.
All right, Princess of Moonbrook. The Princess of Moonbrook is a classic warrior or wizard of the three heroes. She can use few types of armor and weapons in the game. She shares some of the Princess of Cannock's magic, but in addition has several powerful damage spells. This character has been cursed and needs to be freed before she will be able to join her cousins.
Okay, this is where it started getting a little obtuse for me.
Yeah, a little bit.
She got transformed into a dog. You go to the castle of Moonbrook, and you know it's funny because like I was reading the guide and they're like, pay special attention to the dog when you go to the town, whatever it's called, and I was like, okay. So then I go to Moonbrook and everything's on fire. People are turned into like flame spirits, and you talk to one of them and says, go hold the thing up to the dog, and I'm like, okay, and so I did. Like I I went to the dog, but like you have to angle it in a very specific way. Like you need to be like, because when you face the character, you tap A and like it touches the dog and it says woof, and that's it. So you can't like get to the inventory that way. Um, but you have to use like some special item, like the tier of Moonbrokers. I don't remember what it was. And so like this is the start of a really obscure item-based progression system.
Hmm.
Did you have any kind of like issues here when it came to that?
I don't think so, because I think the version I played had a menu option
Mm-hmm.
outside of like the A button. So I don't remember this being that big of a problem. But with only two buttons, or sorry, you were playing the Super Nintendo version, right? It didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a menu.
No, it does. But when you to get to the menu, you got to press the A button.
What?
Start is something different.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't have that issue. How did you end up doing
I don't remember. I'd
it?
have to see the scene, but I just remember kind of like because I didn't want to have to use the guide for this game. I was able to get through most of Dragon Quest One without the guide. This is the start where I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, so like I'm just gonna follow the guide explicitly.
Yeah. Um, it's kind of interesting in Dragon Quest 11. There's like a they have those things where you can go into the past games and do little things, and it has this, and it has that town that she was in, but she's the only person there. They're all dogs, and then you save everybody in there, but then she turns into a dog, and that's where the hero would then later show up and turn her back into a human. It's kind of weird.
What?
Yeah, you're in Dragon Quest 11. You go into into like all the other games
Oh,
and do
I see.
little things, and it's like it's weird because it's like you do things before the hero in that game would get there.
Okay,
It's kind of interesting. It
cool.
doesn't really mean anything, but it's just like, oh, I remember that. That was annoying.
Yeah.
And then the last character we have is Hargon. Hargon is the evil wizard that attacked Moonbrook, cursed its princess, and threatened to destroy the world. The goal of the game is to guide the descendants of Erdrick to defeat Hargon. Only after Hargon's defeat can peace return to the world.
There's actually one other cool character here, and it's going to go into kind of like a new territory, let's say.
Oh,
Um, Actually, there's a few characters that I think are worth mentioning.
nice.
Hargon, I think we can come back to.
Yeah.
We know him as kind of like the rooting evil of the game,
Yep.
terrorizing the land. But when you are able to sail, you can sail to Alifgard, which was the first continent in the first game.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And so I thought that was really cool when you go to Olive Garden, and you can, when you start Dragon Quest One, it's like you can see the evil castle right there. Tantagil, or what is it called? No, Sharlock.
Tantagel,
Sharlock Castle. Tantagil's the main castle. Sharlock is the
the
one with
evil one.
Dragon Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you can just bypass that entire thing, like stopping you. So when you get there, you can actually just pick which one you want to go to first.
Yeah.
Obviously, go to Tantagil to get to the inn and save and everything first. But you go through Charlock, and the Dragon Lord is right there. He's the same looking sprite. It's the same scene recreated, just about like with some minute differences.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm about to fuck shit up.
Yeah, and I left because I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this battle. And then I look at my guide, and my guide's telling me just go talk to the guy, and he's like, he's gonna give you advice. I'm like, that's so cool. It's the grandson of the Dragon Lord, and he's like, I come in peace, and I want to give you a tip about the 5 crests and when you assemble them all together. And so I didn't even have to do that because it doesn't give you anything except for the advice. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back and just go talk to him.
Yeah. That's such an interesting nod that they would include the original map.
Hmm.
Obviously smaller, but they include the main parts and let you explore that. See the history of the game.
Yeah, and I think it even kind of maybe there's kind of a climate change commentary here going on with half the country being flooded in
I
100 years.
think they were onto something.
Yeah.
You said you had another character?
Just a couple of like the castles that you go to. There's like some interesting Like there's a king who's like indulging himself in the bunny girls, and then he challenges people to fight the saber-toothed lion. I thought that was a cool moment. Um,
And so that's a good point. A lot of that stuff is like my biggest complaints about Dragon Quest 2. And
okay.
it sucks because it's not entirely fair. Like we were saying, like Dragon Quest 2 is that midway point. It's trying to get things right. But from like a narrative perspective, as interesting as some of those ideas are, it isn't like fleshed out to that next level where it's telling a story. Like
Yeah.
it's cool that you see the Dragon Lord's grandson. Like that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a good start. That's like awesome. He's there. He's like, go find the 5 crests. Oh, thanks, I guess. Which is cool. Like I like that he's there. But what I really like about the future Dragon Quests is that these are like stories. Like they're quests that they have a problem and you can solve them, and then
Yeah.
go to the next town or help that. In this, it's like cool guy. He's got a cool thing. Fight this tiger and I'll give you a crest. Okay, fought him. Okay, bye. It's like there's not like a cool thing that builds up, or you don't learn anything, or you don't get anything necessarily out of it except for the quest item. Um, in that, again, limitations, inexperience. It's just they're working towards like building a bigger narrative with characters and everything, but they're not quite there yet. Is how I feel.
Dragon Quest 2, written by the interns.
Yeah, yeah. The
I
interns are great storytellers.
I was reminded of Dragon Quest 7. You know, when you go to the islands and there's like a unique story at every island. Except like you're saying, it's very limited. It's very basic. And I can't think of like too many areas offhand in this game where I was like particularly wowed in terms of storytelling. And you could tell that was like potential appeal here.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get the sailboat, right? Like there's like a very brief moment where you like fight a guy and you save the guy's daughter. And he's like, I'll give you my boat. And that's it.
Yeah.
And like it, I'm not like buying into the narrative of it per se. But you can tell I don't know if that like I think they were trying to do so many things. They're trying to do the party system. They're trying to do multiple continents. They're trying to do like that aspect of storytelling where it's like it makes you buy into it, but it's still very limited. You remember in Dragon Quest 1, it's like the main narrative is destroy the Dragon Lord. But then you can also save the princess if you want to.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that. Like it's just like what? Like even from the start of the game, the king, gets the message that Hargon is destroying the country. Okay, son, go save the world.
Yeah. It's like choices without consequence. It's like they give you the choice, but there's not really like a reason to or not to. Like it's odd. And I want to say lazy, but it's a different time. Like they didn't have the things we had. And like you were saying with the boat thing, where you save his daughter and then you get the boat. Her daughter is in the like left corner of town. Like just like a tiny bit more effort is put a cave on the map and say my daughter was taken somewhere. I don't know where, but she's gone. There's a cave. Go to the cave, save the daughter, bring her back. Okay. Like that's kind of more like a story thing going on. It's so simplified that she's literally like 10 paces away.
Just put a building over her and lock her in the cage. And make you use one of the 3 keys that you use in the game. Jesus.
It's it's like you look at it and they're trying their best, but come on, man.
It's laughable. I mean it's dumb, and I kind of like it for that. But yeah, there's room for them to grow here. You can
Absolutely.
see
that. Let's talk about some of the firsts of this game.
Okay.
Dragon Quest 2 is the first to have a lottery game.
Yeah, gamble.
They would all have that going forward.
unfortunately, this is the weakest of all of them. And you get so many of those damn lottery tickets. I
Oh
don't even
yeah.
like playing the lotto. Do you play the lotto?
Nope.
Yeah,
I
okay, good.
sold them all.
Yeah. It would apparently the prize wasn't even worth it. To be honest, it just wasn't worth my time.
No. Do you tend to play the lottery stuff in or the gambling stuff whatever in Dragon Quest?
I'll spend a good half hour or hour playing the poker, and Dragon Quest 3 has an interesting one too. So I do dabble in them, but I've never like enjoyed it as a complete sub game, you know?
Yeah, I'm not into it. Um, 8 and 11, I dabbled in it more than I normally would, but I'm just not in like I don't really play poker in real life. I don't play any. I don't do any of that stuff in real life, so it's hard for me to get into it and just see these as little mini games, which are no, you know, seems like. And I guess Dragon Quest is famous for not really having a lot of urgency in it, which is kind of what I like about it. But
Mm,
man, playing a slot machine or playing the lottery is like the antithesis of what I want out of Dragon Quest. That seems like what a
yeah.
waste.
How ironic because the world is literally on fucking fire. There's no urgency.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I like about Dragon Quest is that especially like when you play games post like 2000, like RPGs took this weird dark turn. I almost blame Final Fantasy VII for it. But
Mhm.
like the games had to become like really dark and depressing,
Yeah.
and especially when the American RPGs took over, like Western style RPGs. And it's like your big games are, and I hate to put The Witcher 3 in there, but The Witcher 3 is one of them. And like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and like you visit these towns and they look miserable.
Yeah.
Like I don't even. I always tell my friends this. Like, in my opinion, you should create a world that you want to save. Like, why would like in The Witcher 3? Why would you really want to? And granted, it's more of a personal quest on that one, not necessarily save the world. But like, why would you want to save that world? Like, everyone's like a prostitute or getting beaten up. Everyone's dirt poor. Just ruled by some mean guy. Ugh. I
I
like,
mean, I don't want to
yeah.
go too tangential for Witcher 3. But I would say in defense of it, it's telling like it's not telling the story of Geralt saving the world. It's
Yeah,
it's more about like him and what's her face?
Siri, and
Yeah.
that's why that one
Well,
kind of gets.
Siri too, but also his love interest.
That's
I can't
true.
remember her name.
What? Yeah, Yennefer. Yennefer.
Yennefer, yeah.
Yeah, that's why that one kind of gets a pass because it's like that's not really the point. It's more of like his own personal struggle, but a lot of those worlds, like it's like in Final Fantasy VII, it's so depressing. Like I
Yeah.
almost just want to go to sleep and I play some of those games. Like, ugh. Where Dragon Quest is so bright, and like you're like, oh my god, these people are so happy and they don't know the peril that's like awaiting them outside. I want to protect
The
them.
town themes are so pleasant.
Yeah.
It's like very Pokemon-esque.
Yeah. Like I want to save those people.
Yeah.
I don't want to save like a village full of prostitutes and like drug dealers and everyone's like crawling on the ground trying to collect pennies.
Even the prisoners are happy in this game.
Yeah. Hey man, do you want some info? Let me out.
Whoa, thanks for saving me. Here's some advice.
Like I would help that guy. Come on.
Gee, he was a pretty swell guy, that prisoner.
That was not too bad. Dragon Quest 2 is also the first Dragon Quest game to use multiple key types and persistent keys. They pretty much do
You know
this
what else
going
they
forward.
messed with was warps and little warp pads.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I'm used to this because the first Dragon Quest I played was Dragon Warrior Monsters, and you had to use the warps consistently to progress through like the little battlegrounds that you'd enter or to enter into them. And so it was kind of nostalgic in a sense to see those brought back. As far as how that worked, as far as progression in the version I was playing, you could end up on a fucking island and there's no way to call the boat. So you just have to go back through the warp and just go back to where you were.
That's not great design.
How did the boat work for you?
I feel like it followed me.
Okay, that's
I
good. See, like
feel
in
like it
Dragon
did.
Quest 4 and 5, I remember the boat following you.
Maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't though. I don't remember. Well, because I think I had the zoom spell.
And you had Zoom. I didn't have Zoom. I don't know if it was
Did
like
I?
a thing.
God, my brain is like not remembering. I swore that I did. I did.
We had a spell called Return, and Return just brought you back to the last place that you saved in or something.
Hmm. I did have a zoom spell. Yeah.
It's very 2020.
Because I remember towards the end of the game, I would go through some of the combat stuff and everybody would die except for my main hero. And that's why I had to like trek my way back to a town
Mm.
because it was like horrible. Okay. Dragon Quest II was the first, came to multiple save points in the form of kings, priests, and old men. They continue to do that all the way to today. Dragon Quest II was the first to have status ailments and churches for removing them. I guess Dragon Quest, I didn't even think about it, but Dragon Quest doesn't have any status ailments. The first one.
Well, no, the wyverns in the first one would put you to sleep.
Hmm.
So I don't know that that's necessarily true. You did get poisoned, and Surround would make it like hard to hit enemy units. But Dragon Quest 1 had sleep.
Dragon Quest 1 had sleep. Okay. Hmm. Dragon Quest 2 is the first game in the series to feature pits and tower balconies from which the party can fall.
Okay, my thing about those, I did kind of like them. I think they replaced the caves from the first game.
With just
That's
towers?
like the more or less like those kind of like intimidating cave sequences where it's like you'd have to flash the light and you'd have to descend a couple areas. That was like the main like overworld challenges. I think the overworld challenges in this one were the towers.
Yeah, I can't even remember. There was the
The only
cave at
cave
the
is
end of the game.
the cave of Roan, and then there was like a mini cave early on, and like the one with the Prince of Canik. But you don't even have to use a spell to illuminate them or hold a torch.
They got
Which,
rid
by
of
the way,
that.
is a godsend because your inventory's opened up so much more. Um,
Yeah.
but the towers were like there are some very memorable towers in this game.
Oh yeah, especially the one just south um of Alifgard.
Hmm.
The one just south of that was freaking awesome, and took me a while to get through. Uh,
Yeah, dude. There's that one. Dude. There's the one where it's like you got to go up 7 flights and then you got to go down and follow this old man to a
yep,
treasure chest.
that's the one.
That's iconic.
See, that's
It
good. That's good storytelling, man.
Yeah, yeah, that was really clever. Um, there's the tower at the end of the game, which we could get to later. Um, I didn't like, there's one where you got to put on the water cloth and then like you got to jump off the edge of the building to get to the other tower. I just didn't like that progression system.
Mm. Yeah, I like the concept of it, but because it's so old, like they don't have that thing where it's like stand here to do it or use it like this. So you're kind of like sometimes you just fall off because you're just trying to use it right, and you just like have to start over.
If I was a kid back in the day, I would have hated that. I never would have figured that out.
No, no, not at all.
Not a chance. And who else is playing this that knows? I'd have to make a pen pal in Japan and then learn Japanese just to communicate with them.
Yeah, I didn't. I like the idea of it, and clearly it gets better later, but the execution here is lacking.
Mm.
Uh, the MSX version of the game contains a special scene involving the dangerous swimsuit. This isn't the first. This is just some interesting trivia.
Did you know?
This was removed by the time the game made it outside of Japan.
Us dirty-minded Americans can't handle it.
No, it's too dangerous.
Too dangerous.
My
I'm sure it would
next
destroy a lot of marriages.
it's so dangerous. The next bit was going to be Olive Garden. We kind of talked about it a little bit. It's good to see it.
Olive Garden. Yeah.
Olive Garden. You get your breadsticks, but he does send you on your quest for the 5 crests. Tell me about the quest for the 5 crests.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going button mappers, man. Okay. Again, okay, some of these are more self-explanatory than others. Some of them, like, there are chests like in the areas where it's like, okay, like the life crest is in the cave of Roan. I got it. There's another one where it's like in that warp panel, you have to just press A on a random tree.
Yep. Isn't that the worst?
There's another one you have to like, and this is based, if you have Zoom, this is great, but if you don't, like me, this was a chore. You have to go back to the town where you rescued the princess of Moonbrook from her dog form, go in the basement, fight a couple gremlins, and then press A over a random piece of ground that one of them was sitting over. And you get the water crest.
Yeah. So there's
stupid.
The star, the moon, the sun, the water, and the soul.
And so, like, I mean,
the good one.
The concept is cool. It's like when you put these 5 crests together, they summon Rubus, you know, the goddess who can help you defeat, you know, the
evil Hargon.
Evil of Hargon, right? And you know that's in a really obscure part of the map, which is like one square block that is a little shrine.
Yeah.
And it has like 5 layers of like 4 or 2x2 square segments where there's an up ladder and a down ladder.
You know, that kind of reminds me also of Metal Gear Solid, which really Metal Gear Solid should remind me of this because it's so old. But Metal Gear Solid 3 has a part where you're climbing a ladder to like a new area, and the ladder is like literally like at least a minute to 2 minutes long to climb it. And the point is to be like dramatic or whatever. But this made me feel like that. Like it's like there's no reason for there to be this many steps.
Yeah.
It's just like
one flight. That's it.
You're just supposed to think, man, this is deep down, I guess. Which they didn't have that many ways to do it, so I guess it's not bad, but it's kind of in 2020 it's very cumbersome. It's not much else but that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the star one is the lighthouse one where we talked about, which we liked.
That was a good one.
Moon Sigil is kind of cool. It's the one we talked about a little bit where you're fighting the saber cat because the guy just wants you to fight him.
Yeah.
Sun Sigil's the one where it's on a tile on the outskirts of the fire shrine. You just got to click it. That makes me feel like anybody could have found that and your quest would have been over. Like some kid just popped up and just took it, which should have happened. That's what should have happened. In a good game, it would have been in like a little town area, and your guide or whatever, something would have told you it's like on a tree next to the shrine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go there and there's nothing there. But there's like a town. And then some kid
Fire
found it.
Temple 2, I kind of forgot about that one, the Fire Sea Cave or whatever.
Oh, with the lava?
That was the hard one. If I didn't have a visual guide, I had to look up a different guide just to figure out the stair progression in that game or in that area.
Oh,
crazy.
Well, I went through that without a guide. I kind of regret it, but it also made me like super farmed.
Yeah.
Like, but I went through that without a guide. I was like, I'm gonna do this without the guide. The one at the Roan one, hell no. But the that one I decided to do it, and I was there for like 3 hours, maybe more. And it is ridiculous.
It was deadly because you have a spell, Step Guard, on the Prince of Canik, which doesn't even work on the lava.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're taking damage as you're stepping on the lava, and there's like huge like swaths of of lava patches. So you're just walking and walking, keep taking damage and damage.
Could you
So by the
imagine that in
time you
real
even
life?
get to that battle with like in the fire shrine, your magic is down to like 20.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Hmm.
But you know what? I'm playing Dragon Quest XI right now,
Hmm.
and granted, I know that it gets harder later. I'm aware of that, but like the amount that it babies you is kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
And like I like that Dragon Quest II at least like was not holding back. It's like we're
If
gonna
I
give
could
you a
have
challenge.
if I had the patience to do like if I could just zoom to that area as opposed to like take the sailboat there every single time, I would do that again
Yeah.
and not use the guide, you know. But there is a level of tedium just in the simple exploration and using repel every 20 parsecs in the ocean when I'm sailing,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to get there.
Yeah.
So I think there is a happy medium. I do love that kind of like dungeon exploration, but
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
like that they didn't pull punches. It's just there's pieces of it that don't age well,
Yeah.
and it becomes tedious. Yeah. Water sigil, like you said, is located in Moonahan. You got to defeat the two gremlins. The heroes, you must have the golden key and the jailer's key, and then the soul. The king has it, but he's in Tantagel, locked in a room. It's kind of interesting that it shows, and this is very BioWare, but they chose to not have all these like earned by combat. Like you'd expect, especially for an RPG at the time, that it's like the only way to get these is to fight the four or the five sigil gods,
Yeah.
and you kind of do that in a way for like, two of them, but they all kind of have a different story of how you get it, which is kind of neat.
Can we talk about that too? Like how even the ones that are there where it's like the gods or whatever, they're just regular enemies.
Yeah, yeah, they're not. There's no big boss.
There's no mini bosses like in the first game we mentioned a few. The green dragon was one when you first fight him. The golem was another. Um, I think there were like two more. This game doesn't have any until the very end, and by then it's just too little, too late. All I
Yeah,
thought was monsters. That's it.
yeah.
Just basic monsters. And granted, a lot of them are challenging, and there's new like strategy elements to the combat that are not present in the first game.
Hmm.
So at least the combat is spruced up as it is. But that excitement is just not quite there. It's almost too much of just explore and figure it out, and not
Yeah.
enough dramatic storytelling.
Too much steak, not enough sizzle. Like the bosses, I mean, they're hard, but they also offer that flavor. Like where you are, it kind of represents that that
Mhm.
piece. Like the golem blocking the town, which I love that concept in the first one. That big golem, just like or golem, whatever you want to call it, just blocking the town. He's asleep. You got to play a thing. He wakes up. It's like biblical almost.
Yeah.
There's like a
You,
weird story, like fable there.
you don't even fight a damn dragon in this game until like the end. In the
Yeah.
cave of Roan. Gotta love that cave of Roan. And so, like, I guess there's one with the Mace Master the first time that you fight him in Middenhall. He's holding a staff or something. Um, yeah, this one was just missing some of that throughout the whole game.
Yeah. No, yeah, like you said, no memorable big fights, I guess. I didn't even necessarily think of it, but I did notice it. It's just no fights. There's never like a point where I'm like, "Oh, this is the big tough guy."
Yeah, yeah. Like I know I would fight tough guys. Like every time I come across a gold orc, I'd be like, okay, I gotta take this thing out first. And then especially in the end game when you're really in that grind heavy area, that's when you see some of these guys and you're like, oh man, just my luck today. I ran into another bullwong or whatever. But like in the majority of the game, it's just missing.
Let's talk about the weird subplot of which there might be the only one in the game.
I wish I did not use the inn there in that
I should have slept somewhere else.
town.
The Prince of Cannock just gets sick.
Yeah, you start talking to people in the town, they're acting funny like Hargon's cast a curse on his town. Okay. I just sailed across the ocean. I'm going to go rest in this bed. And you wake up and he's still in bed.
Yeah.
What? Apparently, Hargon has cast a curse on the Prince of Cannock, and you have to get a leaf from the World Tree, which, okay, there's a Dragon Quest staple,
Yeah.
Yggdrasil, in order to go revive him. You do that, you go revive him, and it never happens again. But you have to sail the sea with just the hero and underpowered Maria.
Yeah. In my game, she was called Isolde.
Exotic. Wow.
Yeah, it's a. And again, I'm trying to put myself because okay, in 2020, this is dumb. 2020,
Yeah.
this is just whatever. I'm trying to put myself into like the mindset of 1987. There aren't really guides, so you're kind of panicking. I get that. That's kind of cool. Like, oh, my big guy is one of my like, I'm on there only three, so a third of my party is down. Like, what do I do? What do I got to do? I mean, I guess it's there. You could travel to it and be like, oh, here's a world tree leaf. I don't know that I put it all together.
Yeah. You know, it took me like an hour to figure out how to use the world map.
Mm.
I didn't quite get the sailing. Like, I know that like you go north and like, it ends up on the opposite side of the map. But I didn't think to really look at the thing for a while, and so like, for me, the exploration didn't really come together full cycle until
Uh,
maybe like halfway through the game, until I really started dabbling with the sailing ship.
yeah.
You don't need the world map before it, so I completely forgot I even had the thing.
It's definitely and it's weird because this is like the one time that the game decides to make an effort to like tell a story or be different, and it's so again it's just so basic. Like there's no you don't even fight for the tree leaf. It's just there. Like oh, you just go there and get it. It's like go to Walgreens and get me medicine. Like okay, I'm back. Thanks. Like there's no desperation. Like you should be fighting, and it's like I'm down a man, so this boss fight that should be here is going to be very challenging because I'm down a man. But no, it's just here you go. It's just the pieces aren't totally there yet for like a great Dragon Quest game.
I didn't even understand like what was it about this town that he cursed. Like it's funny. The only visual you get of Hargon doing anything is destroying Moonbrook Castle,
Yeah.
and the rest of the country looks fine.
Yeah, it's more like a minor inconvenience.
Yeah. I'm just gonna target this one castle and oh, Minhal, you're good.
I mean, he just got really tired.
Yeah.
Had to wait
Need
for
to
10 years.
Yeah, really. Maybe next time it'll be the town of Baron. Or Baran, whatever it was called.
All right. We got the crests, we got the charm of Rubus. Probably the greatest part of the game and maybe most difficult for certain people is Roan. Everything about it. Just getting to it is a pain in the ass.
Well, you know what they say about Roan. It wasn't built in a day.
Tell me about your experience getting through that. Like, okay, so opening the cave, using your guide to get through that cave.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man, that is such an old school cave. I just felt like I was in 1986, 87 or whatever, going through that cave. Like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
As a trolley cave, that is for sure. Um, First off, you're fighting some harder monsters. You got like the horks, you got the dragons, which dragons in a cave. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Dragons in a cave. Um, I think you also there's like attack bots on the later levels. So there's some challenge here as it is just in terms of combat. And you need everything from this cave. You need Erdrick's armor. You need the life crest. You need to get out. You need to get out of this damn cave.
Yeah.
Um, so there were so many components to it. Like you had to go all the way up, get the armor, come back down, go to the bottom right, get the life crest, come back up, follow the path to the endless loop cycle to get out of the cave into the new country. And I followed my guide explicitly, and my guide was wrong. My guide was wrong about the part where it starts looping. And I kind of wish I read the Smoplations interview because it said that that part was based on a concept about how to avoid traps in a cave by only staying on the right side or something.
Yes. Yes.
And I at the time I didn't like it, but when I read that I was like, oh, that's cool. You know. So when it got to that loop part, my guide was wrong. I used the reset feature and I just made sure I could get out of there. Because I did not want to have to do that again. But the first time I was really like following the guide, like go up one, go right one, go down three, you know, and whatever. So
It sucks that it was wrong.
yeah.
At least it was wrong that late in the game.
And at that late in the cave.
Yeah. Because if it was wrong like earlier, then I'd be freaked out. I'd probably have to start over with a new guide, and that would be annoying. But I guess at that point you're like, okay, let's just get through this shit, and then the end of the game. So whatever. Well, it's funny you mentioned that's the looping part. When I think of the looping part, I think of that weird way where you have to go. There's like a straight line, and there's up and down, and you have to pick the right one to go up into or down into. Oh my god! I was playing. I was going through that, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like it's like another Lost Woods. Like they always seem to copy the Zelda thing with these, and it's like, I'm just gonna get the guide, and then it's like, which one do I go into? It's like go right 3 times or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
That's
to be honest, I liked the staircase mechanic in the fire cave more than I did in this cave of Rhone.
Same. Yeah.
That was clever. And you needed kind of like a macro view or to like have it in your mind in order to kind of like figure out like where am I going. In the cave of Rhone, it's just dumb luck.
Yep.
There's no rhyme or reason to okay, I haven't tried the third path on the bottom, so I'm going to try that one this time.
Yeah, it's just it's like literally a time waster.
Without a guide, it would have been entirely experimentation just to get out.
Yeah. Again, man, sign of the times. Like they didn't have the knowledge, which isn't necessarily a sign of the time, but they didn't have the technology to do clever, like more creative things. So they're just like, what can we do with like little pieces that we have? And it's like, let's put a weird puzzle in that isn't using logic. It's just using chance. Like, okay, that's it. And yeah, it just kind of sucks.
They took that concept from Dragon Quest 1 too, because there was like this stupid looping staircase in the final cave.
Yeah, I remember that.
Except that was just one segment and it was done. In this one, they made a whole cave out of it. They're like, hey, that was a good idea. Let's make the cave of Rhone similar.
What if we did this but the whole thing? You're getting a promotion.
Oh, I like where your head's at.
Okay, and now Rhone itself, you're now in like a completely new piece of the map, which that's like a first, right, for Dragon Quest? I don't think you're ever like you get a new overworld.
Yeah, the map doesn't work when you're in Rhone. It's like you can't look at like the country. Like you have to just kind of go off of your exploration and instincts.
And it's a little challenging over here.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, a good place to
Jesus
farm
Christ.
though.
First time I came into one of those okay, the blizzards were annoying. They have a spell that auto defeats you, and you're too low level, so it pretty much gets you at least one of your characters.
Mm-hmm.
The Balrog uses Exploded, and you're low level when you're exiting the cave. So there goes the party. Just hope you don't run into one of those. Basically, just flee everything until you get to the priest.
Yeah. Yep.
Just hope you don't have to fight.
And you have to like loop all the way around that little world. It's so annoying.
Oh, to get to the last area?
Yeah. So yeah, you go to the priest, and then from there it's just like a consistent mad rush just to get to the end zone.
Oh, but make sure you do have all of everything from the game, including best upgrades, including the Eye of Malroth, which you should have, including the Charm of Rubus, which you might not have by this point, which I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, you need everything and
Your keys. Bring your keys. Don't forget your keys at home.
This is challenging. This is very challenging.
I could see how this earned the reputation of like the hardest Dragon Quest game.
Yeah. But I don't like one-hit kill things. Like that just feels cheap.
Well, once you are grinded up and high level enough, that stops working on you.
So you're just like, you think you just got there a little bit premature.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I hit a couple of those, and yeah, they were one-hit kills for me, but I thought I was pretty leveled up. I guess I wasn't as leveled up as I became. Just kind of traveling around a little bit. But yeah, that place will farm you up good. I mean, I got at least 5 levels.
Yeah, the XP thing is huge. Yeah, I got the prince to a point where he had revive, and then the princess got revive as spells, and like that was really helpful. But revive costs like 15 MP, and like you can't really use it that much. And I was always afraid to use my Leaf of the World tree because I didn't want to have to go get another one.
Oh, I hear you on that.
I never ended up using it.
What's crazy too is when I went through this, my Prince of Canuck was using a cursed sword.
Really?
And so he did a lot of damage, but he was also like not able to do anything half the time. And I actually tried to fight Hargon with it, and that worked out really poorly. But yeah, I thought that made it uniquely challenging. So I had to like redo his items, get him like cured or whatever it is, and he became a lot weaker, but he was more reliable. So
that cursed sword sells for a good bit of money too, and you need some serious money to upgrade the prince. There's like one piece of armor that he needs in like this kind of hidden town in the main world. It costs like 61,000 gold. It's the highest priced item in the game, and it only boosts his armor up by 20. But without it, he's just a little wuss.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is pure challenge as opposed to some of the other ones.
Oh my gosh, that final area. Okay, so first off, getting there is the joy because you gotta go all loopy and everything.
Yeah.
And you just hope you don't come into those annoying enemies. Every enemy that you come into is annoying. The bat boons, the Balrogs, whatever there are, the blizzards. Yeah, just a hard time even getting there. Okay, you go in this town, and it's a little familiar.
Oh yeah. Well, haven't I been here before?
Oh yeah, this is where we started the game. It's Middenhall, or is it? And so I went in here and I talked to everyone, and they're all like, praise Hargon. Hargon's great. Oh, here's a warp panel. You don't have to use it though, because Hargon saved the day. And so I went in, I scratched my head, I came back out. I used the inn, like there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I didn't see anything I was supposed to do. Maybe this is just like a little funny thing. And then I walked around the area again, and I was like, there's nothing else here. And so I went back in, and the funny thing is, on the overworld, it's a tower, but when you go in, it's Middenhall ? So the guide says use the Eye of Malroth to dispel the illusion. And then when I did that, I noticed the inn. I spent money on the inn. Nothing even happened. My guy
Yeah,
didn't, charge.
you got ripped off, dude.
Yeah, I got ripped off 12 gold.
Hargon.
Dare you taking my money?
He's also a thief.
Yeah, he's put up a good front. How did you feel about this segment?
It's a lot of good stuff going into it, but just like a lot of places in this game, its execution is lacking. I would have liked like something to hint me as to what to do. Like it isn't. That's what makes it a game, Is like the game has a game has take back. It has give and take. It's like if you want me to do something, clue me into doing it. Like be like, oh man, like if too bad too bad you don't have the eye, man. If you had the eye,
Yeah.
you could see us. Like somebody just give me something. Whereas this game, it's like, oh, you should have just known. Like, what?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, using the Rubus charm. Okay, maybe you figure that out. Okay, you got that item and you're supposed to use it. But use the Eye of Malroth in the center of the crucifix to ascend to the next level. What?
Yeah. Well,
That was
there's
bizarre.
like, come on, like, don't jerk me around. That's what I wanted to say to the game. Just give me the answer. I don't
Just
want
put a
to.
damn staircase there.
Yeah, this is crazy. I love the ideas of it, but it's the execution is so poor that it's like just more frustrating than anything else.
Yeah.
The tower wasn't so bad, at least.
No, especially well, okay, and that's kind of it is a downside in a sense because like I did like some of the other towers in the game. The
Mhm.
Tower of Moonbrook or whatever. The sea. What like whatever that one was with the old man. That was like a really memorable tower. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is dragging, but I love it."
Yeah.
Like I need to get out of here, but I need to get this item. I didn't really feel that tension when I was in this tower. Except for the fact that you're already weakened because you had to fight so many monsters just to get here.
Yep.
And so maybe that's why like it is set up the way it is. There are mini bosses here, but they are just color coded versions of other bosses you've been fighting up to this point. And they have like weird names like Pazuzu
Do you
or
know what Pazuzu is?
Atlas. No.
If you ever see, and I don't recommend it, and I've never seen it either. I just know this. The Exorcist 2.
Okay.
Pazuzu is the name of the demon. So he
Okay.
must be a classic demon in some story, but The Exorcist 2 is Pazuzu. Which is weird to see in Dragon Quest 2. I'm just like, Pazuzu?
This was the pre-pun phase.
This is odd. Very weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird bit of trivia.
I just wish that these mini bosses were like spruced throughout. Not necessarily these ones per se, but like that they were more significant. Like if I fought Pazuzu in the damn sea cave, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be memorable.
Yeah. But I didn't.
Fighting him now, I'm like, get out of the way. I'm trying to fight Hargon.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, let me just take him out, and then I'll go back to the main town. I'll restore my mana, and then I'll come back to the tower. I'll take out Atlas, and whatever. And so, a bit too little, too late.
Yeah, the tower is a little underwhelming, but I guess in a way, both of us, I'm sure, were a little bit relieved because it's like we've been beaten up on this road, on this Rome area for like 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, I stayed up till 2 a.m. just trying to finish this damn segment. So I don't regret it.
So we finally we get through it and we fight Hargon. How was this fight for you?
Well, like any good Dragon Quest experience, this is a multi-part battle. So in the first segment, you are fighting the priest, Hargon. I don't remember him being too memorable. The priest goes down pretty easy, although he does have some strong Firebane attacks. And the fact you don't have a multi-heal spell makes this really challenging, as were some of the other fights up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in like a good 4 or 5 turns, he goes down. How was it for you?
Hargon himself was pretty easy. Malroth would beat me on my first go through. Again,
Mm,
because my Prince of Canuck was using a cursed sword,
yeah.
so it would constantly be like he's like cursed and he can't do anything. And I was like, oh, you're killing me. And so I lost to him on my first one. So I had to do the whole trek over again. Uh, but yeah, eventually it wasn't too hard. But I like that. I like that when you beat the priest part, you're
Hmm.
like able to escape, and then the things block you.
Yeah, and then the tower starts collapsing.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah. And you know what? Malroth, this is the first time, and this is what I meant about the theme thing, where they go really like Satan.
Yeah,
In the first game, it's like, okay, you fight a massive purple dragon, great. And it was a good battle for sure. The Dragon Lord. But in this one, you're fighting this like mollusk looking creature, that looks sinister and evil, and you get the sense this thing is is evil incarnate.
yeah. I mean the whole area, especially with him like faking the town and everything. There's like a lot. This is like witchcraft. Like it
Mm.
feels like they were going for an evil, dark feeling, and I think it verges definitely on religious
Are you
because
saying the main character of Dragon Quest II is a witcher?
yeah, he's the Witcher. Remember the goggles that the Witcher had?
Yeah,
Geralt with his
Geralt,
goggles.
Goggles of Rivia.
But no, I mean that's like a thing. Like, I mean, think about it. So you have to use the charm of Rubus, right, to reveal the truth about the area.
Hmm.
That's like a like I don't know, that one might be stretched, but it's like believing in not believing in the devil and like
Right.
sticking up
You
for
need
Christ.
the goddess like blessings.
Yeah. The Eye of Malroth you put in the middle of a cross. I mean, there's
Potential here.
in my opinion, Dragon Quest has always had a hint of the religious in it.
Yeah.
And this one is like almost not even hiding it in certain ways.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
Yeah.
Malroth is clearly a demon. I mean, he's got his skull
Yeah.
on a chain, which is just
Yeah.
kind of cool, I guess. But he looks like a demon.
Yeah. Demon Souls, the original
This is the demon souls of Dragon
of NES.
Quest. No, I think you're totally onto something when you say it's got that theme. It's got a serpent. I didn't even notice this. It has a serpent tail, like it's
Yeah.
a snake at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And even that kind of wicked smile, it's just terrifying. Like, and this reminds me of like the Dragon Quest IV boss. It's been a while since I've played it, but like kind of this decrepit creature,
Yeah.
um, like a flying cockroach or something, and it's it was a very hard battle. This guy has so much HP,
Oh my
and
god.
supposedly in the original, the NES version, he had heal all as a spell.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck
Can you
that.
imagine? Yeah, I'm good. Can you imagine like getting to this point, suffering the the awful wilds, like of the damn like bat boons and like the everything, and then getting up to this part of the tower, and you take him down. You use all your magic, you cast defense, you cast increase, and then right before he goes down, he casts heal all.
That's very
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
You ever played some of the harder games in that series?
Yeah. I mean, I played through Apocalypse and 4,
Oh,
and
okay. And it's
so
like
I know.
it's like there's hard and then there's unfair. And I
Yeah.
think Shin Megami Tensei generally the harder ones skew towards unfair. It's like a lot of and I know there's counters to the death ones, like where it's an immediate death. Like there's ways to
Mhm.
counter that. But still, it's like you can't stat your way through some of that. Like you can't persevere your way through some of that. It's just like it's a flip of a coin almost in some ways. And
Yeah.
that's what a heal all spell on this guy is. And that would just break my heart to see
Yeah.
that.
As it was, it took me probably 20 turns to take him out.
Wow.
And like just before he took out my main character, the hero, and I don't even think I had enough mana to revive him. So like when I sent you a picture saying like I beat him, my main character was dead.
Oh shit.
And somehow it was just enough where the prince and the princess, like minute attacks, took him out.
Wow.
I was
And
like,
they don't do anything to him.
Charm or Rubus?
They don't. They don't.
Thank you, Rubus.
They don't do anything to Malroth. Like your pure damage is just your hero.
Yeah,
That's one thing I
100%.
didn't like about most Dragon Quests because I love mages.
Mhm.
Like if real life were Dragon Quest, I would be a mage. Like no doubt in my mind. I love the idea of magic users. Boom, kaboom, all that stuff. Awesome, love it. But in Dragon Quest prior to 11, there is no magic stat like for magic power,
Mm.
which I've always really been irked by because eventually the more you grind and everything, magicians aren't really like powerful. They become buffers and they become like I can wave clear, but they, like against a boss that doesn't do you any good. So
Yeah.
it's like when you say you lost your hero, especially in this game, like cuz they're your side characters are already underpowered.
Mhm.
That's crazy that you even got through it. It's because
Yeah.
like what's your fire spell gonna do? Like 8 damage?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. I pretty much just gave up. Well, that's another thing in that you're like kind of insinuating here. I hate when you get to final boss battles and half your spells are you don't use them on a final boss because you know they don't work.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you gave me all these tools to win, and now you're just gonna take them all away just because you want to make sure this is challenging. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
all right,
Pretty much the only strategy is cast decrease on him, cast increase on you, attack him, and heal your party when you need to, which is
yeah,
like
yeah,
every
yeah. All mage stuff goes out the window. Like
right.
none of that matters anymore. Her whole identity is now you're a buffer instead of a wizard. That has always irked me about pretty much all Dragon Quests.
I do think though, like because some of your attack spells still do pretty good. Like when the princess has exploded, that does pretty well. But again, that's like a multi attack thing, so you're kind of wasting mana using it on him.
Yeah, yeah. That's okay though. I mean, they were still learning, so I get it.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah.
bad fight. It's certainly challenging, and I'm glad that the heal all was gone. That's all.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah.
If I saw him cast and heal, I might not have done it. I just said, "Okay, Spence, we're going to do this as is."
Just watch a let's play.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you watched the let's play, you would have seen the ending of the game. Kind of like the first one. It's an ending.
Victory lap.
Only you become the king in this one, right?
You don't have a choice.
Yeah. um, yeah. What'd you think of the ending? Do you have anything? There's not much to say, I guess. It's
I just like that all the monsters are gone and you could just kind of roam the area. You can talk to everyone. They're like, "Wow, you did it! Great! Hargon's gone! Hooray! I'm gonna drink." And like I do like that you because usually when you beat a final boss, it's like okay, cutscene credits end. No, you get to really patrol the area. You get to walk around and like you get to sail and you don't have to worry about encounter rate. That's why I said victory lap. I kind of like that. You
yeah.
just you get that chance to really um march your way back to the kingdom and tell the king what you did.
You know what game also did that was Earthbound.
Stop spoiling stuff for me.
Okay.
But that's cool.
Well, Earthbound is a huge is influenced by Dragon Quest so much. So I think they might have added that.
Mm. I'm sure Yakuza Like a Dragon might do it as well.
I gotta play that.
You should.
It's good.
Yeah, I need to get more into it, but
Mm.
this takes priority.
So alternate endings, man. Were you able to read up on the weird alternate ending that they tried to add in this game?
Where the Prince of Canik sacrifices himself, taking out Malroth, and then you go back to the kingdom, and his sister is like, "You killed my brother," and just before you're about to get married to the princess, although she's your cousin, and she stabs you. End of game.
This doesn't say you're gonna get married.
Oh, does it not? Maybe I invented that.
um, although it could be Alabama, I'm not sure. But,
Maybe. Is that how Alabama is?
yeah. But she plunges it. Yeah, she stabs you with a dagger. And I like the way that he describes it because he says, um, but that ending was far too sad. So in the end, we decided against it. And yet, I still really want to make something with that kind of atmosphere if I ever have the chance. I want
I
to make
love that.
something beautiful and sad, a tearful RPG. The one
Yeah.
I'll have the chance, who knows? A game that while you're playing it, tears well up in your eyes without your even being aware. I think that would make for a good game.
It does, and you know what? They do that later.
Yeah. I'm glad that he saved that card for later because that execution would have been so horrible.
I would have loved it.
What?
But it would have been great.
What the hell?
The end? Question mark.
um, yeah, that's like that would have been so bad. But yeah, no, I love that he was already thinking of that in the past because he would come back with when's the first? I guess 5 is when people really think that's the emotional one.
The tragedy. The Dragon Quest tragedy. 4 doesn't really have too many tragic elements, although there is like some rival character. I think that there's something interesting going on with.
6 doesn't really have anything. 7 has 7 going forward. I think they each have their own little
saga, maybe.
Yeah, the Kiefer stuff was like really, really well done and mature. 8 has one of the saddest moments like I think I've ever played in a video game, and 11 has a really, really sad moment too. That I think one of the sadder moments. So like he's been able, I think, with technology and the improved graphics and everything, and voice acting goes a long way in some of those later ones. Man, they need to redo 5 like in Dragon Quest XI's engine. Oh my god,
Wow.
the things they could do. But yeah, I'm glad to see that he was already thinking of it in Dragon Quest 2, and I'm also grateful that he didn't use it because that would have been terrible.
Can you imagine, like, let the interns tell the story? The king, I'm so proud of you, son. Sister, what have you done to my brother? You killed him. Just stabs Zero. King, oh no.
Credits roll.
It would be beautiful.
So, Dragon Quest 2. We've gotten through it. What do you think of Dragon Quest 2? What's the legacy? What's your opinion on the game?
Okay, you said it was frequently hailed as the black sheep of the series, and I just think that's unfair. I think that this game is still a kind of like the stepping stone to future Dragon Quest that we would see. We see that even just in the very ending there. But to say that this is the worst Dragon Quest game just because nobody talks about it, or just because it wasn't popular then, really undersells how great and improved the experience is here from the first game. I would actually look at this and argue that it's a stronger game than Dragon Warrior 1. What do you think about that?
I would definitely think it's a stronger game than Dragon Warrior. Absolutely. When we say that it's the worst game of the Dragon Quest series. I think, well, for one, I think of it in 2 ways. One of the ways is it's the worst game of a series that we love.
And I just want to clarify, it's not necessarily that you or I is saying this is the single worst game of the series. Maybe you're saying that.
I do say that.
Okay.
I do say that, but it's the worst game of a series that we love. So
how do you say this is worse than Dragon Quest 1?
Okay, so from a purely mechanical perspective, it's definitely better than Dragon Quest 1. Like if you're looking for like the Dragon Quest experience, Dragon Quest II has much more of that experience than 1 does, and
Okay.
in better form. But when you look at it from like a historical perspective, because like
Uh,
honestly, 1 through 3, honestly, like as much as I like 3 and I'm excited to play it, those are like old games,
yeah.
and people might hate on that the concept of it, but I don't really like playing old games if I have the choice. I would love for them to get remade into like a new engine and everything, and that would be awesome. But in general, they're old games. So if I'm gonna go back to play 1, 2, and 3, it's really honestly more of a historical journey than be like, oh, this is interesting. This is how they made it back then, and this is how they did this, and this is where this started. And from that perspective, Dragon Quest is a little more interesting. Like
the first one.
yeah, to see like, oh, here's their original thought of what the
Yeah.
series is, and here's their original thought of this. And Dragon Quest 2 is like it's almost equally as interesting, but it's like here's where they tried to fix it, and some of it is like, ugh, this isn't the way they should do it, and they changed it later because it was bad here.
Yeah.
And so from a historical perspective, I think that's where people say 1 is probably technically better in a way than 2.
I could see that. And I see that as like kind of an identity thing. It's you think of like it's funny these Dragon Quest games have these huge subtitles. Like we didn't even talk about the one for this game. The what is it? The Luminary of the
It was given that later, right? Luminaries of the Legendary Line. I think that
Okay.
it is given that like because it originally was just Dragon Quest 2.
Okay. Yeah. But we create our own kind of subtitles for these. Like Dragon Quest 1 is the original RPG.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest 2 is what? The clusterfuck?
the the quicker fixer upper.
The Cave of Roan Plus.
Yeah.
And so, like, while there are improvements, for sure, I happen to love like I think the storytelling was done way better in this game than it
Mhm.
was in the first one.
And that there is
Um,
storytelling.
the fact that there is storytelling at all, yeah, exactly. Um, some things were just made worse in the process. Like the progression system is like it's in the first game. It's probably manageable. Like I think you could manage playing the first game at the time without the guide. This one, not a chance in hell. You need that guide.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced you could play this game without that guide.
It would be tough. It would be very, very tough. They wanted to jam pack it with a lot more stuff, and I applaud that. But they didn't have the experience or the technical know-how to achieve making that actually work. And
Mhm.
so instead, you just had to hit A against that tree.
Dude, I'd have given up.
Which, yeah.
I wouldn't have even known to use the Eye of Malroth to make the barnacles disappear around the Cave of Roan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just don't know.
There's so many moments I would never figured out. I wouldn't have figured out even the dog leading me to go pick up the gold key from the patch of grass.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. And that's the thing about these old games is that, and that's another reason I just don't like playing them that much. Like from a fun perspective, is that they're too antiquated in a lot of that. Like they didn't have an answer for that, so it's pretty much just like a follow the guide kind of thing. If I don't want to spend like 50 hours trying to beat it.
Yeah. But if I can overlook that, if I
Yeah.
can overlook the aspect of needing a guide to play it, there's so much substance here. This is the fight against Satan. This is the fight against the Bat Demon Lord. This is the fight for the legacy of the Erdrick line.
Mm-hmm.
He even fights with his family. The main characters are his cousins, even if they do suck. This is the fight of humanity against evil. So like I hesitate to say that this is worse than Dragon Quest 1. I think it's a better, messier package.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, that is a very good way to sum it up. It's not as simple, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do have a more engaging everything, combat, narrative, overworld. Um, it's just not intuitive.
Yeah, and I think people. And what's cool is that I do like that they tie all the stories together, one through
Mm-hmm.
three. So this becomes necessary, but it's a necessary stepping stone for one, two, and three. And I'm just excited to see three. Three is like the complete evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of impressive that they were able to get that all through the NES. I mean, technically four is NES as well, but they were able to get like the series down lock pat like within 3 games. Final Fantasy hasn't found their thing in like 30 years. Although the point of Final Fantasy is to innovate, but still. Yeah. Dragon Quest was like settled by 1988, I guess. Whenever 3 came out, 89, 88, I can't remember. And 2 is just a huge huge leap forward, almost a bigger leap forward than 2 to 3. And we'll discuss that, I'm sure, once we do 3. But 2 is a very, very large step forward.
For being a project from the interns, I mean,
good job.
They didn't screw it up that bad. They didn't do the alternate ending.
They showed some restraint. I appreciate that.
They learned coding.
Absolutely. Well, that's Dragon Quest 2. This has been awesome.
Totally.
I can't wait to do Dragon Quest 3. We're on the right path.
Yeah, we're gonna complete the trilogy.
The Lodo or Erdrick trilogy, as they call it.
Yeah, the lesser renowned trilogy in Dragon Quest lore.
But really the only trilogy.
That's not true, because the Zenithian trilogy is 4, 5, and 6.
Right. It is, but they're like...
Yeah, I guess you're right in a narrative sense.
Yeah, they're completely unrelated, just that they have a floating castle.
And Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
This one had 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like the only... I'll hesitate to say that, but it's mainly the only 3 that are connected via the story.
Yeah, and it is pretty present, like in the overall grand scheme of things. So in that sense, yeah, you're right.
We're gonna wrap it up with 3 next time. That'll probably take us even longer to get through, but I can't wait. And thank you so much for joining me on this this journey,
this quest,
yeah. You might call it.
Some might call it, yes, a quest. A quest for the heart of the dragon, the dragon lord.
So thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a hell of a journey. This has been what, like 2 hours almost, maybe.
Just about, yeah.
So thanks for sticking with it if you're here, and we'll see you guys next time for Dragon Quest 3.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. See y'all then.
Bye bye.